I've been playing Final Fantasy XII recently and having a wonderful time with it, and I wanted to talk about Vaan as the protagonist of the game. One of the very few things I'd heard about 12 before I started it is that people find Vaan really annoying. People do not like him as a protagonist at all. And I don't really see it. I really don't see it. I think he's a very well written teenager. I think he's a 17-year-old and kind of slightly petulant and whiny in the way that 17-year-olds kind of are. But not only do I enjoy him as a point of interest, sort of your eyes and ears, self-insert character, but I think there is a very critical moment in the game where Vaan very much elevates himself above that and where it kind of clicks as to why he is the protagonist of 12. And it's the conversation that him and Ash have in Jahara, where Vaan talks about his brother enlisting in this pointless war that they knew Rabanasta was losing, and he doesn't come back from this war. And Vaan talks about the feelings of grief that he had and the fact that he wanted revenge. He wanted to get his own back on the Empire, but there was nothing he could do. The war had ended by that point. He couldn't enlist, and he had no power, no money, no influence. He's just one of thousands of war orphans in the city of Rabanasta. He's the poorest of the poor. There was nothing he could do. And so that meant that he had to just face his grief head on, and he had to confront it and move past it and get on with the rest of his life, because he needs to figure out where his next meal is coming from. He needs to look after Penelo. He needs to, figure out how the two of them are going to make it through the week. And that perspective is why Vaan is the protagonist of 12, because he is a grounding force for the characters like Ash, who are very caught up in the lofty ideals of warfare, of national identity and dynasty, and even revenge. And Vaan is kind of a reminder to all of them that these things don't really matter to the poorest of the poor in your nation. What matters to them is that there isn't a war going on, that their brothers aren't enlisting to die in some conflict that is to them totally meaningless and pointless. And 12 makes a very good point of showing that it's not that Vaan doesn't understand these lofty ideals. He gets it. It's just not material to him. It doesn't matter. And because Vaan has had to move on with his life and not be caught up in this cycle of revenge, he offers an outside perspective on it that maybe stops Ash from reaching for that big red button.